Hey everybody, I am Stacy. I'm the owner and artist of New Creations by Stacy. So I'm just going to give it a sec, make sure I'm live. If you guys are jumping on, just say hey where you're watching from. We should have Dixie Belle here with us tonight as well. So they'll be here to answer any questions if I might miss those. And of course I'll go back after the live if I do. And so I think I see somebody on. Let me just double check and try to pull it up. Or if somebody's here, can you just say, hey, I've actually gone live before and painted for like 15 minutes and didn't even know I wasn't live. So I'm just trying to pull it up here. And I'm not seeing the video yet. So, well, I see some numbers popping up, so I'm going to assume I'm live. Again, I'm Stacy with New Creations by Stacy. And oh, hey, perfect, Tammy, thank you. I'm a Dixie Belle retailer here in Ardmore, Alabama at the Rustic Willow. I'm an elite retailer, so that just pretty much means I carry everything. Hey, Heather, how are you? All right, so you guys, tonight we are actually going to be working on this jewelry box. We're going to be doing kind of an aged finish with some clay and CMP paint. But before we start that, you guys, if you were on last week, hey, Bonnie. Oh, I didn't even realize you could see her. You guys, this is Taz. She's a little bit spoiled. But so anyway, if you guys were on last week and watching, we worked with the Bohemian Wedding Transfer. And I have that piece finished up. I just have to stage it. The hardware is just kind of sitting in there. The hardware is just kind of sitting in here. But I just got to put the screws in and take pictures tomorrow. So that's how it turned out. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick sneak peek before I post that. And I do have every step of this piece on video. So I'll be putting that together, posting it to my page. And in the description here, you can click the link to my page. Please like and follow me on Facebook. Oh, thanks, Heather. So please like and follow me on Facebook. And then also I have the Chalk Mineral Paint Enthusiast Group link. If you click on that, tons of inspiration, amazing artists. You can ask questions, everything. It's like a ton of experts right at your fingertips. So here we go on this piece. Just to talk about what I've done so far. So this is laminate. So after I cleaned it with White Lightning, I went ahead and put 2 coats of slick stick on. You want to let that sit overnight. And that just ensures that your paint is going to stick to the laminate. Anything like glass, laminate, some metal, just kind of depends. Plastic, you can paint anything. Plastic, you always want to use slick stick on that. And then after that, I did add some wood you bend. I also did a little repair up here with some Dixie mud. And that's about it. So this piece was originally, like I said, we're going to do an aged finish. And this piece originally was supposed to be distressed. But the laminate is so thin on this jewelry box that when I was scrubbing it with the White Lightning, there was a sticker on the back of it. And when I was trying to scrub it, it actually scrubbed off the laminate. So really to sand through, with laminate that thin, to sand through slick stick on here, I would go straight through the laminate. So cannot be distressed. With that, well, I could do a wet distress, but I don't think that look would look good for this. So it's got some nicks and dings and stuff like that as well. So we want to do a textured finish, and that's what we're going to be doing, is putting the first coat of a textured finish on. Probably the second coat I'm going to do a little bit more blendy, but I want to get this texture on here. So we are actually going to be, whoa, my lid was off when I shook that. Hey, Patty, how are you? So we're going to be using Desert Tan Clay Paint. And you guys, this paint dries lighter than it looks. And actually, I've got the side done. I'll show you where this is going before we start. So this is the Desert Tan. So this paint is pretty thick. Have you guys used the clay paint, most of you? Or I love it. Absolutely love it. Here we go. Here's my spoon. And actually you can see, because I did paint the side of this just to see what I was doing. You can see where it dries a lot lighter than the wet part here. Hey, Trish, how are you? All right, so we're just gonna stir it up a little bit. Look how thick this is. It's so much thicker than the CMP. That's why it's great to create texture with. You wouldn't think it would blend so easy, but it is actually, this paint never cures. It will always reactivate with water. Of course, it's water-based. And it goes a long way, the paint does. So it's actually super easy to blend with because it reactivates. You don't have to keep it wet to work your colors together. So then we're also going to be doing some Moonbeam. Oh, you haven't used this, Heather? This paint is awesome. It's an artisan. Okay, so I always get the artisan paint. I always want to say artesian, but that's bread. But anyway, this is the Moonbeam here. So it's like a creamy kind of white with a slightly gray base color. So we're going to use a little bit of this. And so you guys, I put my paint on these paper plates. Like I said, this paint will always reactivate. So if you spray this with a little bit of water, I could actually keep this overnight if I put it in a plastic bag. I love it because I'm terrible at cleanup. So, and then we're also going to be using some coffee bean, which this is chalk mineral paint. It's a little bit different. Chalk mineral paint, self-leveling. It's a lot thinner. Cures after 30 days, so it's not going to reactivate with water. And with this clay paint, it always requires a protectant. Technically, chalk mineral does not. You can see the colors here. Technically, the chalk mineral paint doesn't, but I always protect mine. I would never not protect it. I mean, the sheen on it, it's just matte. It'll, you know, especially if it's a dark color, you'll have fingerprints if you don't protect it. So I always protect it, but technically it doesn't require that. And you guys, I think I'm going to throw in a little Steel Magnolia. And this is a Moonshine Metallic. This is going to be super light. And you know what? I did not get another spoon out. So, we're just going to do, actually, I'm just going to pour a little bit on here. Hold on. I don't want too much. I don't want it to run into my other colors. You can see how thin that is. So I've got a lot of different consistencies with the paint. And these are all water-based paints, which is why I can mix them together. So pretty much any of the water-based products you can mix. Trying to think of any exceptions there, and I can't right off. But just trying to make sure I don't miss anything. So here we go. So here's another thing. With the clay-based paint, it's best to use a natural bristle brush. So for this, I'm going to be actually using the premium chip brushes. These aren't quite like the ones you get at the hardware store. They're a lot better quality. They last a lot longer. The bristles are made from something different, but I don't quite remember the details. But anyway, we're going to be using that. But we also have, you guys, if you're working on a big piece, we've got the Big Daddy brush. Paint goes on so fast with this. And then like the French tip brush, and this is our Busting wax brush. This is nice for like a cloudy blends with it. Any of those options. But like I said, we're going to be using actually 4 of these premium chip brushes. And so when I start working with this paint, I just like to mist my paint brushes so they're nice and wet when I get started. And I actually don't want to get paint over here on my other piece. I'm going to drop you guys down some and bring you in so you can really see what's going on. Whoops. It's not quite what I meant to do here. There we go. Then I'm just going to bring you in. So you kind of have a close-up there of what we got going on. So where I have this detail, I like to really get in the grooves and keep those dark. So I do like to use a French tip brush for that. We're going to actually start off. I always do that with my darkest color because you want those recesses dark. So I like to use my mister bottle, which is around here somewhere. Here we go. My mister bottle. I'm just going to mist this down, wet it up really nicely. The reason I'm going to do that is because the thinner the paint is, the better it's going to sink in here. So not using a whole ton of paint. I'm just going to go through, kind of swirl my brush around, and really get into those details. This is CMP. It's not going to reactivate as much with water whenever I go over it. So we'll do this section once this dries. As you can see, you really have to work the paint into the details. So you're not going to be doing that with your subsequent layers. So that's going to stay down there in those recesses. So I'm also going to do it along these beads up here. And I'm just kind of swirling my brush, getting that tip into those details. And this is going to create, like, if you went back and waxed at the end, so you can get the wax down into these details, I find it's going to create a similar look, but I find it easier to paint that look in. So that's really all I wanted to do in these two sections. I'll do the sides if we get to that point. Oh, thanks, Jeanette. So I painted that last week live on Chalk Paint 101. It's shared to my page, so you can actually go and view it. Plus, I'll be posting a video. But the colors are in the navy, tiny bit of Stormy Seas. What else did I use? Haint blue, a little bit of tea rose in there, and I think it was fluff or cotton. I can't remember which one. But they're all listed on the video last week. And once I stage this and post this week, if you follow me on my page, I'll have listed out all of the products and everything that I used on that piece. So let's go ahead. We're going to be using these premium chip brushes. So we're going to go ahead and start off just in the details. And actually, I don't want to start there. I'm torn on whether I want to add some molding in here, so I'll give that a minute. I saw, Patty, that you had, I think you had 3 new jewelry boxes, a box, and something else delivered. I was like, wow, you are busy. Let's see here. You know, I rarely, you guys, by the way, this is a custom piece, and I rarely do. I'm just trying to get the details in here. I'm not too worried about anything else for this first part. But I rarely do neutrals. You know, my favorites are like blues and greens and anything color. But I've done 3 neutrals back to back, which the other one I didn't paint live, but I'll be staging it. I have 3 pieces to stage tomorrow. And I can't wait to get back to my color. I do love, like, I'm going to love how this turns out, I'm sure. I like neutrals. I don't know. I love to paint in color. So I'm going to go ahead and spray this because this is, again, the CMP, so it's not going to keep reactivating. I don't want these 2 parts to reactivate right now. So now I'm going to start using, you saw how kind of thin that is, how thin it went on. Now I'm going to come in with some desert tan, and I want to start creating texture with this darker paint. So I'm just going to start dabbing in where I want kind of my shadow to be. And in this case, these drawers are curved. So in these lower areas, and I'm just dabbing this on. I want to create texture. I want to lay out my colors. I'll be doing a second coat. And actually, I'm going to come back with a little bit of this coffee bean right down here, because at the bottom you would have like dust that collected if it was old and aged. So you want that line to be a little darker down there as well. I just kind of missed that a minute ago. So come back in with the desert tan. And I know this looks like a hot mess, but it goes through the ugly before it gets pretty. All right, so now I'm gonna actually come in with a Big Daddy, and I'm gonna take, I'm gonna have to check out your page too. Have you started on your jewelry boxes yet? I usually do dressers, and I'll be getting back to those. So right now I'm just adding this color on, not doing any blending, but I'm dabbing because I want this. I'm dabbing it because I want it to go on thick, and I want it to be textured. And if you were using CMP to do this, you would want to probably add some sea spray to it, and I debated on doing that. But you guys, I love this clay paint. Absolutely love it. I'm overlapping on my edges here because I really want this piece overall to be more light than dark. So I'm going to go ahead and put my Big Daddy down, but I'm going to come in with a new premium chip brush because I want to go in and start blending these sections out a little bit, kind of bringing them together. And you guys, because of the look I'm going for, is the reason I'm doing it this way. But you could actually make this be your last coat. And you could do a coat of CMP underneath this. So it's hard to tell probably on camera, but in some places I am pulling back a little paint and it's actually showing through the slick stick. So I want to wipe my brush a little bit because my colors are getting a little too muddy, muddier than how I want them. Hey, Catherine. Wednesday. How to clean and prep. Oh yeah, that's a big thing, you know, and I feel like I don't do very many videos on cleaning and prepping. For some reason, you know, I think let me wipe this off again. It's getting a little more cloudy, when I'm wiping it off, I'm pulling the paint off my brush. I'm going to bring this dark in here a little bit by where the knobs are, kind of a little darker just around there. But anyway, I'm sorry, I just went off on like 3 different topics. Oh, you could actually put a coat of CMP on this. Like if I was going to leave this being my final coat, I would probably put French linen under this. And then I would do this again. But really, I want the texture under here. And I'm kind of torn a little bit because I'm going to add a little bit more of the moonbeam, but wipe it off some. Want to bring that light back in here. I was just dabbing on my shop towel here to bring that light back in. Just some dabbing, pulling this all together. But this is, if you really take your time on this, which I'm not taking, well, I am a little bit, but I'm not taking probably, if this was my last coat, I'd take a little more time on this. But you could use this as your last coat and put French linen under it. It would bring out, it would blend beautifully. And that's it. In this case, though, I'm kind of going for a cloudy blend, kind of with this coat peeking through in some places. So I'm a little torn whether or not after this I want to seal it, because like I said, this paint does reactivate. But we're probably going to test it out on the side as we go. We're doing really good on time. Just to let you know, this is kind of how this looks once it dries, because it does dry lighter. Looks a little more yellow for whatever reason on camera tonight. But you can see kind of how that dries up a little bit lighter. And so what I want to do here also, and I should have got out one of my art brushes, but one of these will work back here. Oh, actually, I have exactly what I'm looking for. Needed some of my art brushes because you see my paint, see how thick it went on? I want to make sure that it doesn't cake up under here and dry like this. Let me bring you in so you can really see what I'm talking about. Because we always paint these together. Can you guys see that? I'm not sure if you can see, but all that paint right there. I'm just going to take, kind of spread that around. And I'm just using an art brush. This is normally a step I do at the end because of the spacing in between these drawers. I want to get this up here. I'm going to dip this in here. Kind of bring some of that dark over to the side. But I just want to smooth that out. This isn't my last coat, so the main purpose here is just smoothing out those edges. If it doesn't have a lot of paint on it, I'm not going all the way across to paint it. I'll come in and do that later. So I don't, because this paint always reactivates with water. I don't even have to worry about really cleaning my brush off right now. It's going to come off later, which is fantastic. So let's go ahead and do this top part up here. Then we'll jump down and do this. And then maybe we'll test out, because you know, this is a newer paint. I haven't tested it so much with creating that textured finish and then doing the blend over the top. So we might test that out together. I've done something like that before, but I have protected in between. So what we're going to do on the bottom here is I'm just going to start dabbing in this desert tan. I don't care if I'm overlapping a little bit. All those little extra things are going to be what really bring this together and make it look old. Like all that little extra dabbing I just did over there probably looks horrible on camera. But again, this is kind of its ugly stage. And I may not do the rest of this live, but I will video it and put it all together. Just like I did on this piece over here. If you saw, like I said, that's the one we worked on last Monday. I'll show it again at the end of the video too, because I showed it pretty early when we first came on. And all I'm doing right now is putting this desert tan in the areas that I want to be kind of darker. And this whole section will be a little bit darker than you would normally have anyway. So we're going to come back in with the moonbeam. And all I'm doing is dragging my brush over this part up here, because I want this. I'm going to bring you guys in close so you can really see how to paint in those details. While you're doing your piece, instead of using the wax solely at the very end. You add wax to this and it looks even better. The more layers you can create, I mean, the more depth your piece is going to have. And you don't actually have to do, you can create a look of multiple layers just in a couple coats here. And I'm probably going to want to lighten this up a lot. We're going to go ahead and leave that alone. I'm going to let it dry up a little bit, and I'm going to come back and do some dry brushing on that. And let's come in up here with our desert tan. This is want to do very little paint there. I just want to get the hint of that color. I'm going to go ahead and spray my brushes because they're getting kind of dried out. Oh, sorry. Oh, thanks, Patty. So I had you down there. You didn't even see where I put that on, but so now I'm coming in with a lot of the moonbeam. This kind of creates a stone look. And I know technically this is a shaded area up here, but I want to kind of do it a little bit light because I want to accentuate this curve right here. So this is blending. A lot of this is blending this paint together, but I also want to do some dry brushing over this detail to really create that aged look and that depth. I'm coming back in. I didn't put any more desert tan on my brush. This is very subtle, so I'll bring you guys in for a close-up. I didn't put any more paints on it. I'm just coming back through to give it, just highlight that indent up there a little bit. And actually, I'm going to come in with just a tiny bit more of the CMP, the coffee bean, under this bottom ledge. And let's do... I'm almost positive that when I do this blend, it's going to activate a lot because I'll be wetting the piece. I feel like I'm going to lose some of this texture if I don't protect in between. I've just got moonbeam going back across here. Got a lot of texture going on up here. I'll also end up taking these drawers out to paint those sides, but I like to paint this in one cohesive piece with the drawers in so that I can get all the shading right here. Let me just check the time. So we've got about a half an hour. Let's go ahead. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to actually dry brush a little bit of the coffee bean on here. I normally do this as I'm going along and painting. You want it to be somewhat dry when you do this, but this is what's going to give me that extra added look of distress once it dries. And if you want to just create like a slight line, you just put a little bit of paint on your brush, wipe it off, and you can run it down or across, like up here. Or you can also just dry brush a little, lightly feather your brush over. I just want to outline these drawers. That's going to give me that distressed look that my client was looking for here. And if you do it really lightly, you can catch some of that texture. I know this is hard for you to see right now, but I'm going to bring you in so you can see it a little bit better. And I do this on pretty much every layer. Like if I'm doing 2 layers of paint, I go back and do this because the more little details you do, the more layering you add. Like I said, the more depth it gives it, the more the look, it just looks more natural. You can also, if you have most of the paint off your brush, you can also dab to do very light shading. I'm not going to go all the way down these drawers. You get the idea. I'm going to do the same thing down here now, but this is a little bit dry. Then we're going to come around to the side. These are just really so you can see these techniques. I'll have to go back over them. So I've got some hairs too that I didn't really pick out of here. I can take a really fine grit sandpaper and go across those to pull those out. But a natural bristle brush, you really, I mean, they just shed a little bit more than a synthetic brush, really, overall. So I kind of missed this little ledge down here. I'm going to come back and get that. That was Moonbeam. Let's do some Desert Tan in here. So you guys, these pieces always look crazy when you first start them. But once you put those extra layers on, they are really some of the pieces that people like the most when they're done. Coming back in with some Moonbeam. Want to lighten the edge up a little bit, and then I'll go back over and dry brush that. Once it dries, just want to bring that kind of together a little bit. Like I said, once this dries, it's going to look totally different because this paint dries much lighter. Once you protect it, you bring that sheen back out. It looks gorgeous. It really, really pulls it together even more. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and spin it. Oh, actually, one more thing I wanted to do on this. And I wasn't really sure, not really certain about this part. This is going to be super subtle. But this is the Steel Magnolia Moonshine Metallics. And it's going to give it just a shimmery look. Really want to do it like over these raised parts. Once it dries, it's just going to give it a little shimmer. I like to do it on the edges. Yeah, you guys really, I doubt you can see this because it just adds a really nice sheen. That's all it is the sheen. And the more you layer it in, it almost makes it glow. And it's perfect. This Steel Magnolia is perfect with the Desert Tan. So just putting a little bit of that over it. And let me bring you in so you can really see a close-up of this. Once this clay paint, it takes longer to dry than the CMP. Once it dries, I'll be dry brushing this more to bring out the highlight. But I just want to bring you guys in so you can really get the idea of what all that work was for. So you can see how that really makes that Would You Bend piece pop. And how it's creating that depth on it. And that's going to add to like what you do with the wax. So now here's the experimental part. We have a few minutes. If I don't like this, then I'm really not worried about it because we're going to do the inside first. I can just paint over it again. Before I pull everything off that table, let me just move this around. So this is all of that same technique. This is it dried. You can come down here a little bit and see where some of that dry brushing like really gives it that detailed look, that distressed kind of look, and it's just painted in. So we're going to come up here. I am pretty sure that I am not going to achieve what I want to with this, but I have to try it. I really think that for what I want to achieve, I'm going to have to protect this, and then I'm going to have to come back in. I'm almost positive I'm going to have to protect this because it's really going to activate it, because right now I'm going to spray it with water. And I just have not tried this, so I'm not sure exactly how I want to go. Let me go ahead and get some of my premium chip brushes over here. And, yeah, I'm I'm positive I need to protect this, but we're just going to see what happens. I mean, I have to see. And I know the ideal thing is to not test it on your project, test it on something on the side, but I always test on my project. So, yeah. So I think I want to keep this kind of light. You know what? I'm going to do this. This is another thing I haven't done, but I've been wanting to try. It's recommended that you use the natural bristle brushes. This is not a self-leveling paint. And one of the things with, let's see how this comes together. You guys, right now I'm using a small round and I'm dabbing, or I'm kind of streaking in this desert tan a little bit. And again, I don't have to worry when it comes to a blending perspective. First of all, I'm not putting this paint everywhere. When you do a layered kind of dry brush look, this is how you would kind of apply the paint. The difference is I also just added water because I want this first coat to show through. And so now let's use a round large. I want this to be light. Kind of want to streak it in a little bit, I think. I'm not going to talk as much because I don't really know what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of deciding, not 100% sure. I'm going to come in. I got a little bit of paint down here. Just going to do a little finger painting there. So I was actually going to do, how does this work? How much is this going to pull back? No, that's not what I want to use. See, I'm going to spray it. And I think I'm going to come in here. I don't even want to pull it together that way. I think I want to streak it. What I'm doing is I'm just pulling my colors together. And because I didn't cover that whole first layer, I've got that first layer that's more the stony look kind of peeking through. Want it to go in different directions a little bit, I think. So by the way, this clay paint is not a self-leveling paint. It's not like CMP. So you're going to have brush strokes. That's one of the reasons the natural bristle brushes work really well. Kind of like some of those drips coming through too. So when I'm dabbing, I'm kind of creating a little bit of texture in this coat, but I've still got that smooth blend in a few places. And I'm going to come back in with my premium chip brush, kind of dab some of this CMP in here. And then let's come back, really mix that up a little bit more. I really don't as much like painting these pieces live because it's really hard to see these fine details. And I feel like some of it is lost in here. So let's darken up some of this area down here. This is my coffee bean, CMP I'm coming in with now. And I'm okay with getting some of this over here because that is just going to be done with an art brush by hand. And here we go. Just want to make this look as aged as I can with the paint. Got some texture going on there. I really like that. So this will end up being pretty much my final coat here. But you really won't. One thing about this chalk mineral, or this clay paint, I have kind of a hard time with the chalk mineral paint, it dries pretty quickly, so you kind of see what it's going to look like pretty fast. I really like that for the inside. I'll probably go lighter on the outside, but I'm really liking how that's turning out. I feel like this is sometimes kind of the boring part. But like when I'm painting alone and I'm not painting live, when I first start that next step, I like to spend a little more time on it. I just really experiment a lot, come back in with my brushes. Once I get exactly what I'm going for, I kind of fly through the other steps. But I'm not one of those people that can plan my piece out exactly what I'm going to do. I like to just start painting, kind of paint it in a little hair over here. Let me see if I can get that out. That's kind of a long one. There we go. So yeah, I kind of think that's going to be my final look. Maybe come in with a little bit of the Steel Magnolia again, which is our metallic. I'm wiping the brush off. And just kind of want to add a little shimmer here and there. Very, very light. So in some places where I'm going kind of over where I want it to be, just come back and dab a little bit. So I have a nice little blend going on. I'm just running it up, obviously, where the hinge is. And you guys, this is pressed wood, so I was afraid to take the hinges off, which is why I'm painting this all together. I was afraid I might have a little issue there. I'm going to dab some of this in here. That little sheen will show up. It's kind of mixed with the paint, so it'll be super subtle. And I like those subtleties. Yep. So I think that's it. I think that's where I'm pretty much going to end this. I will darken up this line right down here with some wax later, maybe even some Dixie dirt. That really makes it look authentic. But that's it. That's kind of the first coat and the second coat of creating that aged look. Normally I do this with colors. This is, whoops, sorry about that. Normally I do that with colors, so this is kind of unusual that I'm doing it in neutrals. I'm just gonna raise you guys back up. And so again, I said I would show this other piece over here that we worked on last week. I think I've just broke my tripod. It's a Monday, you guys. Happy Monday. All right, so anyway, this piece over here, this is the piece we did last week with the Bohemian Weddy transfer. Oh, thanks, Trish. With the Bohemian Wedding transfer, tons of gilding waxes on the hardware, including zinc, which looks great with those paint colors. But that's it. That's last week's. And next week, of course, I'll have this finished and I'll post to my page. And I've got 3 new pieces I'll be posting this week. I'll be staging them tomorrow and some videos too. So, oh, thanks, Patty. So I'm just going to scroll through right quick, make sure I didn't miss anything. And we are out of time. Let's see here. Yep, no, so if you guys think of any questions later, I didn't see anything. I'm sure I missed some stuff about this clay paint. You're welcome to message me with any questions on my page. Like I said, the link is in the description. All the colors we used tonight are in the product description. You can find your local retailer through the link. Of course, if you're here in Alabama, I'm in Ardmore, so please come see me. And Jeanette, I'll try to post, what do I want to say? I don't know if you follow my page or not, but like I said, I'll be posting within the next couple days the full product list, and I'll try to post the link to the first live when I come back and answer questions tonight. Patty, I can't wait to see your jewelry armoires. Let's see. All right, so I don't think I missed anything, you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out tonight. I hope this was useful. If you know anybody who could use it, please share. And thanks again. You guys have a great night, a great week. Oh, thanks, Patty. You too. Take care. Bye-bye.